Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Royal Ramble podcast. I am your host, Zach Stevens, and we are here to review the episode of Raw from July 24th, 2017, out of Washington, D.C. in the Verizon Arena. As always, guys, you can follow us on Twitter at Ramble_cast. Again, that is Ramble_cast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page where you're going to find the highest quality versions of the episodes that we do, as well as our entire backlog of episodes as well. So if you happen to miss maybe our Battleground review that just went up last night, that's definitely on the YouTube page. And it's also on our Podbean. If you want to listen to us on the go, download the Podbean app and, add our show to your podcast app that you like. Go ahead and give us a look at royalrambleradio.podbean.com. We're also on twitch.tv. Check me out over there. I'm usually streaming some video games from time to time, either checking out Fire Pro Wrestling, and of course we'll be checking out WWE 2K18 when that comes out as well. So check us out over there at twitch.tv/royalrambleradio. Now that is all out of the way, guys, we have an episode of Raw to review. Now, obviously coming off of Battleground this past Sunday, which was one of the worst shows that WWE has put on in a very long time, especially for a pay-per-view, I was pretty down on this episode of Raw and just wrestling in general. My expectations for this show are pretty low. I'm expecting this to probably be pretty bad considering how bad Battleground was, essentially. But in the end, this episode of Raw was pretty entertaining. There was some parts in it that were obviously pretty slow, as always, like you'll have in a 3-hour show. But most of it was pretty compelling, and some of the stuff that they did tonight at least gave us some answers for SummerSlam. But as always, we have some questions as we head into tonight's episode. The number one thing that is on everyone's mind is what is going to happen with the Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan situation. Last thing we saw from them was the interview they did post Raw on Monday with Renee Young, and it looks like they're sort of setting up for Kurt Angle to really kind of start pushing Jason Jordan and start getting him that special treatment, the preferential treatment because he is his son, really putting him in a lot of matches and giving him shots at things because he is related to Kurt Angle. Will they do that? Will that be the start of that storyline tonight? We will have to find out. The next thing is what is going to be the official announcement for the Universal title for SummerSlam. There's been a lot of speculation about is it going to be a 4-way or what, but we still haven't had an official announcement by WWE. Obviously, with Braun interfering in the Joe and Roman match last week, that pretty much tells us where they're going, but will they make it official tonight? We'll find out. And then finally, we have the number one contenders match for the women. It's Sasha versus Bayley. Now, this is a match that I kind of thought we wouldn't see until a major pay-per-view or something that they would actually build up to with, Sasha going heel and Bayley really having to fight as the underdog again, trying to replicate that NXT Brooklyn match that they had a few years ago that was so amazing. But instead, we're getting it on this random Raw, and the winner will go on to face Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam. They have that match tonight. Who is going to win? I feel like it should be Sasha, but we will have to see. So yeah, guys, this show starts off and Kurt Angle immediately kicks off the show. So our number one question is probably going to get answered tonight. He goes on to talk about his private matter, that's been going on for the past few months, saying it has affected his job as being general manager. He talks about introducing Jason Jordan last week. I think he was expecting a big pop here, but the reaction from this Washington crowd was pretty mild. There were some boos at the announcement, slight cheers, but overall, it was just not very loud. Not a big pop at all, which is unfortunate. Kurt then goes on to say that Jason will have his very first match tonight on Raw. So, is he getting that special treatment? We'll find out. He then goes on to talk about the match last week between Joe and Roman, mentioning that Strowman had interfered, and he says that he took it back to the drawing board and gave it a lot of thought. So he says at SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar will be facing, and then we hear, "Raw!" And of course, that's Braun Strowman's music. So he comes running down to the ring. He says the next words out of Kurt's mouth better be Braun Strowman or else. Braun goes on to say he doesn't fear Brock. Brock Lesnar fears him, and he says that he will break Lesnar in half at SummerSlam and become the next Universal Champion. And then, of course, Joe's music hits, and then I think we all saw where this was going. Joe comes down, he starts talking to Braun, saying that their paths had never crossed, so let me introduce myself. He talks about how he nearly beat Brock at Great Balls of Fire, goes on to say that he doesn't fear him, and he definitely doesn't fear Braun Strowman. He then goes on to tell Kurt that he needs to give the beast to him. Then, Roman's music hits. He comes out wearing that disgusting fucking shirt that needs to be put into a Great Ball of Fire. Roman obviously getting massive boos as he starts cutting his promo, which actually, I'm going to say this, Roman's promo here was actually really good. One of the best that I've seen him do in quite a while, really leaning into that heel mentality that I love so much, coming off like a cocky badass, which is the one thing that I want him to do more often, and that's what he did tonight. Roman goes on to say that Joe and Braun haven't done anything in the WWE. He runs down his own personal accolades in the WWE, getting even more boos, mentioning, winning the Rumble in Philly, saying, well, it was loud that night. So obviously taking shots at the crowd from Battleground. Philadelphia was pretty dead that night. Roman, like I said, cuts a really good promo here, really being more heelish than he ever has. Super cocky, arrogant, confident, love it. Roman gets ready to attack both Joe and Braun, but Kurt breaks them up. Kurt then makes the match, saying Brock will face all three of them in a fatal 4-way at SummerSlam. Braun obviously getting the biggest pop when they finally mention that he will be in the match as well. So this crowd is loving Braun Strowman. Then at the end, they all start brawling. As Kurt exits the ring, Joe and Roman start teaming up against Strowman during this brawl for some reason. They dump Strowman over the barricade, and then they turn their sights on each other. They both get back in the ring. They continue to brawl for a little bit. Then Strowman recovers, comes back in the ring, and just takes them both out. Kurt then calls for security, but Braun takes out every single one of these security guys. He nearly kills all of them. He throws one of these guys over the rope so bad that they just go ragdolling over it, hitting the apron and just spilling out to the outside of the ring, looking like he completely went limp. Joe then comes from behind Strowman, gets the coquina clutch on him. Then the entire locker room comes running down, having to separate these three men. Joe still has the coquina clutch locked in on Braun, and then Roman spears Braun Strowman, essentially spearing them both, and they all go spilling out over the top. Really cool spot there. Huge brawl here. Absolutely love it. And we end this segment with Braun hitting the running power slam onto Roman, and he exits the ring. My thoughts, really great opening segment. I mean, I think we all knew where this was going as soon as Kurt Angle came out here and started to make this announcement, and then they one by one started coming out. We all saw where this was going. We knew it was going to be a fatal 4-way at SummerSlam. Like I said, I think Roman cut a really good promo here, really playing into that heelish, dickish, cocky, arrogant attitude. That's something that I've been wanting from Roman for years now. It's not necessarily that he has to be a full-blown, shit heel. He just needs to come out and be cocky and dickish and arrogant. And the problem with him right now, I think, is that he just doesn't do that consistently enough. Sometimes in some cities, he'll do this where he acts like a full heel. And then in other cities, he'll come out and he'll try to be a clean-cut babyface. So my problem is I don't want him to come out and cut this type of promo tonight and then next week go back to being a babyface. That's what irritates me about Roman. I think Joe and Braun also did great here too. Joe always shines when he has the mic, and I love that he got to open up the show. Same with Braun as well. But overall, my thoughts on this 4-way, I am pumped to see it. I think the title will switch hands because, let's face it, it's a fatal 4-way. Brock does not have to get pinned. Roman does not have to get pinned. And obviously WWE doesn't want to have their two strongest competitors get pinned clean anytime. So it looks like someone will probably eat the pin, whether that be Joe or Braun. But who gets the title? I honestly have no idea. There are a lot of rumors swirling about Brock Lesnar right now, with him entering his name back into the USADA testing pool, possibly looking to go back to UFC. There's some rumors saying that he will not renew his contract after WrestleMania. So if that is the case, then we could be seeing the end of Brock Lesnar's run here, and that means that the title will eventually have to switch hands. So we will have to wait and see on that front. So we head into the first match of the night, and it is Finn versus Elias. No DQ match. Obviously, Finn getting that rematch from that brutal guitar attack last week. He says that he hurt one of his babies last week, Elias does, referring to his guitar. There's a huge "We Want Balor" chant that erupts and interrupts him as he's sitting in the middle of the ring. He dedicates this next song to Finn, asks the crowd to be quiet, then starts playing his song. The crowd is absolutely just booing the shit out of him. This gimmick is actually really working well for him. I am honestly surprised, man. When he was in NXT, I was thinking, what the hell is this guy doing here, man? He is so annoying. I don't like this gimmick. It's just not working. But when he came to the main roster, man, they somehow made this thing work. So it's completely opposite of what you normally see, right? Sometimes they'll have this hot act in NXT, they'll come up to the main roster, and then they won't know what to do with them, and they just completely flounder, and they end up being in lower mid-carder, essentially. Look at guys like Sami Zayn or even Shinsuke to a certain degree. They really haven't figured out how to make those guys look good. And then you look at a guy like Elias Sampson, who no one really liked in NXT. There was talks about him getting cut from the roster entirely. Then he comes to the main roster, and look at him now. He's looking pretty damn good, and the crowd is really, reacting to him. And that's what's more important, man. I've said that multiple times. It's not that the crowd likes you, cheers you, or boos you. It's that they react to you. As long as he's not getting crickets, man, he's going to continue to get segments. So this gimmick is working. Anyway, eventually, Balor's music interrupts Elias, much like the two previous times that these guys have met up. And honestly, what I was thinking was that Balor should have come up from behind Elias when he was playing his song and taken him out while he was playing. I think that would have been a lot more badass, and it would have made, Finn actually get some revenge for that vicious attack that took place last week. That's what I was expecting, but instead, Finn just came down the ramp like normal. But he does come down to the ring with this nasty look on his face. He looks like he is fucking pissed. He is ready to fuck up Elias and get his revenge. So I thought that was a nice touch by Balor there to really, display his emotion that, hey, motherfucker, you just took me out with that guitar last week. I'm going to come out here and beat your ass. And that's the exact type of face you should have. So good stuff by Finn there. Anyway, this match starts. Finn starts by throwing his jacket at Elias, trying to distract him, and then goes in and attacks him. Balor hits a drop kick through the ropes. He then chases down Elias and elbows him from behind. We go to break, and we come back, and these two are still battling on the outside. Obviously, it's a no DQ match, so there will be no countouts. Samson finally gets in control. He has some offense here, and he starts working over the injured shoulder of Balor. Samson then grabs a chair, but Balor cuts him off and stops him from using it. This will be a constant tease throughout this match with this chair. Eventually, Balor grabs the same chair, and he brings it into the ring, but this time Samson stops him from using it. Samson hits Balor with the chair shot, then we go to another commercial. We come back, and Elias hits a shoulder breaker onto Finn. And this was actually the first time I've ever seen that move out of Elias Sampson, so it's really nice to see him adding some new moves to his arsenal. Elias then sets up the chair in the corner, but Balor reverses and sends Sampson into it instead. Finn can basically only fight with one good arm at this point. His shoulder is completely fucked. Balor then catches Elias in the ring apron, trapping him there and beating him down, finishing it off with his patented running punt on the apron. Balor then turns his eyes to the chair. He then goes on to beat the absolute fuck out of Elias in the middle of the ring with this chair. Balor hits 2 drop kicks, climbs to the top rope, hits the coup de grace, but before he can go for the pin, the lights go out and Bray Wyatt appears out of nowhere, hits him with Sister Abigail. Then basically Bray Wyatt just stands there looking creepy for a few minutes. Elias slowly crawls over to Finn Balor, puts his arm on him. 1, 2, 3. Elias Sampson beats Finn Balor with help from Bray Wyatt. Thoughts? Hated the finish, man. This was actually a great match, and I honestly thought it was a true showcase for both of these guys, especially Elias. This was easily Elias Sampson's best match. And also, Finn Balor has been somewhat absent on Raw. He's not really getting a lot of promo time. He's not really getting these long matches. And this was about a 20-minute match that kicked off Raw, essentially. And both of these guys were getting huge pops and getting huge reactions. And the crowd was invested into this match. So to have it end in a shitty way with Bray Wyatt interfering, it kind of sucked the life out of me. But I will say this, man, this was easily Elias' best match since coming to the main roster, maybe even his best match since being in the WWE, including NXT. And like I said, Balor also really got a lot of time on this episode of Raw, which is something that he needed. So, I think the finish was shitty, even though I understand it. They're obviously trying to build up Wyatt versus Balor. That is what the SummerSlam match is going to be. We probably should have seen this interference coming, but the fact still remains, WWE puts on these great matches sometimes, and then they end up fucking it all up with a shitty interference ending. They do this way too often, and it needs to stop. I think they could have had this match finish out, let Balor win, let Elias win, whoever, let him win clean, and then have Wyatt come out and, beat down on Balor or whatever. Overall, though, really good match, really good way to kick off Raw, but really bad ending. Next, they show highlights of Kurt's announcement last week. Then Renee has an interview with Kurt Angle backstage. She goes on to mention that Jason will have a match tonight against Kurt Hawkins. So I guess that preferential treatment isn't happening after all, because I think even I could get a match against Kurt Hawkins if I wanted to. Anyway, then out of nowhere, Emma appears and interrupts the interview. She goes on to say that she has been sitting on the sidelines watching this women's revolution. She says that she started the women's revolution. She then asks what she has to do to get notice, saying, "Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll date your son." I thought that was an awkward line, essentially saying that Emma is going to sleep her way to the top. She voiced her displeasure with not being used on Twitter. This was out of kayfabe, essentially. And later on, I'm going to talk more about this, but I think she got her punishment for talking shit on Twitter and, calling out this creative staff and WWE in general for not using her. But anyway, I am glad to see her getting some TV time here, especially after her little outburst on Twitter. A lot of the times they'll just keep them off TV, even though they're talking shit about the company. She deserves to be involved in this division. Having her sit on the sidelines is fucking ridiculous. She is too good to be just sitting over there. She is far better than girls like Lana and Tamina, and she should either get more matches on Raw or they should put her on SmackDown Live, because she could be one of the best heels, possibly even the top heel on SmackDown Live. She is absolutely too good to be wasted. They need to figure something out for her. They go on to say, though, that she will have a match tonight against Nia Jax. And immediately I'm thinking, okay, well, I hope she just doesn't go out there and get fed to Nia. I could totally see WWE doing that because of her statements on Twitter, so we will see. And, well, little spoiler alert, guys, she does get fed to Nia, so we'll talk about that in a bit. But anyway, there's a backstage segment between Enzo and Big Show. Big Show basically asks him what he's going to do against Cass tonight in their match that apparently was set up. I had no idea about. Enzo says, screw having a plan. He's bringing the fight straight to Cass. First of all, I have no idea why we're getting yet another Enzo and Cass match. Didn't we already prove that Enzo is going to get his ass kicked each time he faces Cass? Why is he going out there and subjecting himself to another beatdown? Doesn't make any sense. And I know exactly where this match is going as soon as they did this backstage segment. Enzo's going to go out there, get his ass kicked, and then Big Show is going to come and help. He's going to try and come out there and, interfere or protect Enzo, and that's going to help set up the match between Big Cass and Big Show at SummerSlam. That is the only logical reason why this match is happening in the first place. Anyway, we go to match number 2, and it is Enzo versus Cass. Enzo comes out, he cuts a quick promo, basically says that, the things that drive him drive Cass crazy. He says that the key that drives his engine are the people, the WWE Universe. He then calls Cass the finish line, saying that he can't wait to run into him. Then Cass's music hits. Corey here on commentary says he is going to live vicariously through Cass, and he can't wait for Cass to shut Enzo up permanently. And wait a second, Corey, doesn't Cass have a little feud with you right now? What the fuck just happened to that? Cass constantly has been coming up to Corey, calling him out, saying, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for you, because Corey was the one that revealed the security footage that showed that Cass faked the whole beatdown. So they have been butting heads the past weeks. But this entire time, Corey is putting over Cass on commentary. So Did they completely drop that storyline? Is that just completely done now? Why would you say you're going to live vicariously through him and hope that he beats the shit out of Enzo if he's your enemy? So none of that really made sense to me. Completely illogical writing there. A lot of continuity errors. So I'm not really sure what is going on with that. Maybe they're trying to tell a new story. Maybe Corey and Cass are working together somehow, but that really doesn't make a lot of sense considering how Cass has been treating Corey as of late. So I thought that was very strange. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that, but maybe WWE just said, fuck it, we're not doing that storyline anymore. Who knows? Anyway, this match basically starts. Enzo just gets his ass kicked. Cass just throws him around, makes him look like a rag doll. We have loud Casshole chants. Basically, Cass just stomps out Enzo in the corner, just completely killing this dude. He eventually hits the big boot. 1, 2, 3, Cass wins. But Cass obviously isn't done. He continues the beatdown after the pin. But this doesn't go for very long because, guess what? Big Show's music hits. We all know it. We all saw it coming. We knew it. As Big Show gets close to the ring, though, I thought this was a nice touch. Cass grabs Enzo and almost holds him as if he's like a hostage, like you would have a hostage in your hands with a gun to their head or something like that. And he tells Big Show that he's going to snap Enzo's neck if Big Show gets in this ring. Big Show enters regardless, however. I guess he doesn't care if Enzo's neck gets snapped. Cass then throws Enzo at Big Show for the distraction, comes up, hits the big boot, then the Empire Elbow on Big Show. They start this beatdown where Cass basically just beats the shit out of Big Show, but the problem here is that you can hear Big Show calling shots. He's basically telling Cass what to do during this beatdown. He's basically saying, oh, hit me with another elbow, hit me with an elbow, hit me with the big boot. And it also seems like Cass couldn't hear him as well because Cass just continues to do Empire elbows over and over, basically awaiting Big Show's next instruction. So I kind of thought that took away from it. I should have tried to ignore it, but it was pretty loud and it was pretty obvious that Big Show was telling Cass what to do during this beatdown. Cass basically ends it by stomping down Big Show and leaving. Overall, I think obviously the match was a complete waste of time, making Enzo look like complete trash. And the beatdown was honestly pretty weak as well. Like I said, hearing Big Show calling shots also pretty much ruined it for me. And honestly, the match that we're going to get for this, Big Cass and Big Show, it's just not going to get me excited, guys. Let's just put it that way. It's not something I'm looking forward to. And I already know who is going to win that match. It's going to be Big Cass. Big Show is there to put him over because Big Show's career is coming to an end. His contract is coming to an end. So obviously in that sort of role as the veteran, you're going to go and put the new big guy over. That's what you do, and that's what's going to happen at SummerSlam. So overall, I'm just not very hyped about this because we all know where it's going. It's all very predictable. Next up, we have Alexa backstage. She has a really quick, pretty pointless interview with Renee. She basically talks a bunch of shit about Bayley and Sasha, saying that she will be watching their match, but she says that neither of them are winners. The only winner is Alexa Bliss. So basically the same typical stuff we always hear, nothing groundbreaking, but it was nice to see Alexa finally get some promo time again. She has been kind of hidden from segments the past few weeks. I'm not really sure what's up with that, but it's good to see her get more involved in this show considering she is the champion. Match number 3 of the night, we have Emma versus Nia Jax. Emma tries to take it to Nia right at the start, but Nia just plows through Emma with a shoulder tackle. Emma hits a drop kick, then takes it to Nia on the top post for a very brief moment before Nia just tackles her to the mat. She throws Emma to the post, hits an elbow drop. She then hits this crazy somersault flip onto Emma, completely brand new move out of Nia that I absolutely loved. So she does this somersault flip, goes for the pin, 1, 2, 3. Emma gets demolished. So yeah, guys, that's what Emma gets for running her mouth on Twitter, I guess. And honestly, that is pretty pathetic. Emma deserves way better than this. She did not need to just get fed to Nia Jax like this just because she had a little outburst on Twitter. You know, she has a right to be pissed, man. She's so good. She's one of the best that they have, and she's not being included in this women's division at all. You know, they try to stick her with that shitty Eva Marie sort of gimmick, and then they completely pulled out of that when they realized it wasn't going to work. And then she went back to being her normal Emma self, but then she just disappeared. She hasn't been on TV or any pay-per-views or Raw in general at all. So for her to be a little bit frustrated, I think it's worthy, you know? I mean, she hasn't really had much time on TV, and she is that good. She's that talented. She wants to be included. That's the problem. But for her to go out there and get fed to Nia Jax just kind of shows how petty and pathetic this company can be at times. Just because she, voiced her displeasure, they're going to send her out there to go lose in 2 seconds. I think that's completely bullshit. I did like that little flip out of Nia. That was a new move from Nia's arsenal that we have never seen, and I love that she's able to add new things to her skill set because, quite honestly, she needs that. She is big and badass and, brooding, but she still needs to add new moves to her moveset to keep people entertained. I still think that Emma jobbing out to Nia like that is fucking sad. She's too good to be in that position, and I honestly feel bad for her. I feel like this is WWE management basically saying, okay, you want a match? Here, go lose to Nia in 2 minutes. That's how petty these people are that run this show. So, very sad stuff to see Emma get treated like that. Some people on Twitter and things are saying, well, hey, maybe this will lead to an Emma underdog push. I don't think so, guys. I think this was them saying, hey, you want a match because you ran your mouth? Here, go lose, and we're never going to hear from Emma again. Guarantee it. Next up, we have an interview backstage with Akira Tozawa. They show highlights of Titus quitting the match for him against Daivari last week. He goes on to say, you see now why I want a rematch with Daivari, right? Then Titus comes in, saying that even though he wants Arya Daivari, his shoulder isn't healed yet. Titus apparently went behind Akira's back again and canceled their match that was going to take place tonight, saying that Akira can't compete tonight because of his shoulder. Tozawa then tells Titus to stay there because he's heading to the ring now. They both walk to the ring together, going through Gorilla. The camera follows them the whole way. Titus tries to stop him again when they get in the ring, but Akira pushes Titus. Oh no, not a push. Unbelievable. The crowd goes, oh shit, like this is a big deal. We go to commercial, and Akira is on the mic. He's calling out Arya Daivari, getting more mic time than he has in his career of all time, basically. I've never seen Akira get this much mic time. Anyway, instead of Arya Daivari coming out, Neville comes out. He comes out, he calls out Akira's fighting spirit, saying that he is the reason that Akira's shoulder is injured, not Arya Daivari. He says that he tried to warn Akira, but instead, Akira chose to trust Titus O'Neil. The crowd is completely dead here. No one cares about the cruiserweights. Eventually, Akira decides to attack Neville. He's had enough of Neville smack talking, I guess. Akira then heads to the top rope, hits the reverse senton. Then Arya Daivari comes out of nowhere, beats down Akira, then turns his attention to Neville, taking him out as well. And we end the segment with Arya Daivari doing the belt motion on his waist. I'm always going to call him Arya Daivari. That is going to be his new name from now on. I don't care if I misspeak. He is Arya Daivari. Anyway, I thought this was a good attempt to try and get us excited about the cruiserweights. Hell, at least they're trying something new. But I have to be honest, guys, this just does not excite me, man. I think these guys in this ring just don't excite me either. I think that's the problem. Akira is just okay. Daivari, just okay. Neville, he's good, but what has he been doing lately, man? He's just being the champion, doing the same thing each week, comes out, cuts the same promo. So he's pretty stale at this point. It's just, the whole thing is just very bland, and there's nothing really exciting about it at all. It's really hard to get invested in these guys, and I don't really know why. It's just hard to get invested in them for some reason. And this segment really didn't work for me, but I can tell that WWE is at least trying to do something new because obviously what they were doing before was not working either, so they have to try something new to try and save 205 Live and this Cruiserweight division. So hopefully they can find something that sticks, but as it stands right now with this whole Akira Tozawa, Titus O'Neil shit, and Neville being the champion for years on end, it's just not working for me. Anyway, we have a quick backstage segment with Bayley and Sasha. Sasha is mad at Alexa for what she said earlier in the show in her interview. Bayley and her agree that nothing will hurt their friendship, but Bayley says that Sasha should maybe focus on her match tonight. Sasha says they both want to be champion, so let's go out there and tear the house down. Bayley says, let's let the best woman win. Sasha says, yeah, because the best woman will win. Good promo here from these two. I am legit excited for their match tonight. They have a great opportunity to do what Becky and Charlotte did on SmackDown Live last week. Really go out there, put on a great match, and remind us all how great the 4 horsewomen of WWE are. That is what we have been missing sorely lately out of this women's division, and I think it's time to get that going again, and this would be a great way to add fuel to that fire. So I'm glad that we're getting this match, and I'm excited for it. We have another backstage interview, and it's Renee with Jason Jordan, or Jason Angle. They are calling him Jason Jordan, but I guess he's Jason Angle as well. Anyway, she asks about his first match on Raw. He goes on to say he's grateful, realizes all the eyes are on him, but he can handle the pressure. He goes on to talk about how crazy it is that Kurt is his father when he used to emulate him as a child. He compares it to a wild dream that actually came true. The crowd starts getting a little restless here. We get a small boring chant I hear erupt in this crowd. He then says he's going to come out and win his first match on Raw against Kurt Hawkins, which obviously you are because Kurt Hawkins doesn't win anything. Then we have another backstage segment. This is Dean with Seth. They talk about their match tonight, teaming up for the first time in 3 years. Seth says that they got worked over by Miz and their crew last week, and he wants to make a plan, but Dean isn't feeling it. He doesn't want to make a plan. Seth asks him, well, what are you going to do then? Go out there and lose to Miz again? Which I'm thinking, yeah, probably he will. Anyway, Dean says, you have to worry about 3 guys. I have to worry about 4. So obviously showing a little bit of disdain, untrusting to Seth right now still. I thought this was a decent tease of stuff from both of these guys. And honestly, I kind of forgot this match was even happening until they did this segment. So it kind of tells you how much interest I have in this whole feud that's going on. However, the thing that they are teasing here, which does get me excited, is the fact that they're sort of teasing a Seth versus Dean match. I think these guys do have some unfinished business, and because Roman doesn't look like he's getting involved in a Shield reunion anytime soon, I would like to see Seth versus Dean for a little bit until we can finally have a true Shield reunion, because obviously Seth and Dean still have some unfinished business, and it looks like they need to work it out in the ring. So maybe that is where we're headed for SummerSlam. Maybe it's Seth versus Dean instead of Miz versus fucking Dean Ambrose for the millionth time, which I would be so much happier about, but we will have to see, man. No official plans as of yet. Match number 4, we finally get that number 1 contendership match for the women's title between Bayley and Sasha, and immediately I'm thinking, wow, they're doing this match now, before Seth and Dean and Miz, and before Jason Jordan and Hawkins. Very strange booking decision, but then again, my complaints with Raw last week was that the first 2 hours were a slog to get through. There was really nothing worthy in those first 2 hours, but the last hour was great. So maybe by putting something that we actually want at the halfway mark will keep us entertained, give us some more energy, and help us push through the last hour and a half of this long show. Anyway, this match starts. Both girls start in a series of holds for pins that end up in immediate kickouts. The whole story of this match is that you can tell Bayley and Sasha know each other so well that they're able to counter each other's, main moves. Bayley will go for the Bayley to belly. Sasha realizes it immediately and is able to reverse it. Sasha will go for the bank statement. Bayley realizes it. She's able to reverse it. So that's basically what happens here. Anyway, we come back from break. Sasha has Bayley in a hold. Sasha then whips Bayley into the post. Bayley then gets her on the middle ropes and then drives Sasha into the mat with almost like a DDT. It was a pretty crazy move out of Bayley. Sasha then throws Bayley into the corner, then gets her in the bank statement. Bayley is reaching for the ropes, but she can't get them. Sasha reels her back to the center. Sasha is on Bayley's back, but Bayley stands up, almost like Cena did against Rusev whenever he had the accolade caught in. She then rolls Sasha over, goes for a Bayley to belly, but she can't get it. Like I said, Sasha reverses it. Both girls then start trading shots. They start brawling. Sasha heads to the top post, goes for the knees, but Bayley rolls out of the way. Bayley then hits a running knee. Then Sasha hits a shining wizard. Really nice exchanges out of both of these women. I love these sequences that they were doing. The crowd finally starts to get into this. They were kind of dead at first because it was kind of a slow start, but then they really started to pick up. We have a very loud "Let's go Bayley, let's go Sasha" chant. Obviously, this wasn't NXT Brooklyn levels, but this match was pretty good. Easily the best match of tonight, I would say. Anyway, Sasha goes, she hits a splash onto Bayley, goes for a pin, but Bayley rolls up Sasha instead. 1, 2, 3. Bayley wins. Wow. I didn't expect that at all. I honestly thought Sasha was definitely going to get this win, considering they were sort of building up Sasha versus Alexa for a very long time now. She kind of also needed to get that rematch against Alexa based off their last match. And instead of giving Sasha another shot, they give it to Bayley, which I guess is one way to give Bayley some momentum again, because obviously she has been lacking in that, severely. The crowd has not been feeling Bayley lately. She has not been able to get extreme. That was her whole problem at Extreme Rules. She wasn't able to do anything of worth, and her match was completely shitty. So I'm not necessarily looking forward to another Alexa Bayley match. I think Sasha versus Alexa at SummerSlam would have been a lot better. Because Bayley just right now isn't all that exciting. She needs more matches like the one they had tonight between her and Sasha before she gets back into that title picture to really get some momentum back behind the character and show that she has gone through the trials and tribulations and been able to fight through all of her problems. But overall, man, I really did like this match that they put on tonight. You could tell, like I said, the in-ring story of this match was that both of these women know each other way too well. They kept countering each other's moves. They had everything well scouted. So I thought this was really good stuff by these women, even though it was a surprise ending and a surprise winner. Maybe they're going to let Bayley go on to finally, get her revenge on Alexa from Extreme Rules. Maybe that's the story that they're trying to tell here. But, I will say I'm a little disappointed that Sasha isn't getting a chance at SummerSlam. I don't know if Sasha is somehow going to get involved at SummerSlam, if it'll be a triple threat match or something. We'll have to wait and see, but as it stands right now, Bayley is the number one contender, and it looks like WWE is trying to put their eggs in the basket of Bayley once again. Next up, we have Kurt Hawkins. He has a quick interview backstage. He basically says that he's sick of hearing about Jason Jordan and will ruin his Raw debut tonight. Okay, Kurt Hawkins. So we head into the fifth match of tonight, and it is Jason Jordan versus Kurt Hawkins. Jason Jordan comes out to the same American Alpha theme, which is very weird that him and Gable are sharing that theme still. I think Jason should use his own. I think he should get his own theme song. That's something that really helps get character over these days. So, maybe even if they did a remix of Kurt's theme, I think that would be pretty awesome. But as it stands right now, man, the American Alpha theme is being used for two people. Anyway, the match starts. Kurt starts off things with a huge slap to Jason. The bell finally rings, and Jason just slams Kurt to the mat. He picks up Kurt multiple times, just throwing him hard as shit into the mat. Really doing a lot of strong style stuff here. Kurt starts getting some punches in, telling Jason, or yelling at Jason to hit him. And Jason obliges. He hits the shit out of Kurt Hawkins, and very hard. He then hits him with a few shoulder tackles, drives him into the post, and then hits him with a huge belly-to-belly suplex. That is kind of Jason Jordan's whole thing. He does a lot of really great suplexes, especially this belly-to-belly that he does. He then spears him in the corner, hits him with the neck breaker. 1, 2, 3. Jason Jordan wins. We all saw that coming. Kurt Hawkins hasn't won a match since he re-debuted. Jason did look very dominant here, and he really showed how powerful he can be. And I think that's something that he needs to get over in his matches, just how much of a devastating nature he has about him. And he really wrestled hard in this match. He was taking it to Kurt Hawkins, man. There was no pulling of punches here. He was knocking the shit out of this guy. So strong style for sure. I love that he came out here with some intensity and really made this look like a devastating match. So overall, I think Jason could end up being a big-time player, but he's going to have to work on his character and work on his promos, but that's only something that will happen over time. Next up, we have in-ring action, and it's Charlie introducing the Revival to the ring, which I thought was kind of weird here. I guess there's going to be an in-ring interview. Dawson interrupts her immediately, saying they're professional enough to know what she's going to ask before she even asks it. They then say that they'll handle the interview from here. They brush her off to the side. Dash says that not only did they dominate NXT, but now they are on Monday nights. They're here to take control of the tag team division on Monday Night Raw. Dawson says that they got rid of the New Day, made the Hardys irrelevant, and say that Cass only broke up with Enzo because they came around. Then, Gallows and Anderson music hits. They come out in full babyface mode here. They come out and they basically say that they did all that stuff, that the Revival were mentioning, but they did it first. They beat up the New Day first. They beat up the Hardy Boys first. And they even say that they were bald first, too. They say you call yourself top guys, but we all we see are a couple of nerds. So basically calling them nerds like they always do. I thought this was very cool to see Gallows and Anderson in this sort of babyface role. And honestly, I think these guys need something like this. You know, they were just spinning their wheels as heels and not really doing anything in WWE since they came up from New Japan. They have definitely not lived up to their expectations, and maybe a babyface push will actually get some momentum behind these guys, and they'll be able to do something. So if they really do get this babyface push, that would be very welcome by me personally, because let's be honest, since they came from New Japan, like I said, they've not lived up to their expectations, and they've basically been at the same level since arriving. So this would be a nice change of pace, and it would maybe shoot some life into this dying tag team division. Anyway, this match starts. Dash and Dawson start by beating down Carl in the corner. Carl finally starts to assert some dominance, then he tags in Gallows, and Dawson and Dash basically cower away from the towering Gallows. Meanwhile, Sheamus and Cesaro are shown watching this match from backstage. Cole then asks Booker T what he thinks of the tag division on Raw, and he says that it's looking really good. Booker T, what are you smoking, dog? This is the weakest tag team division in history right now. This is not looking good. This is looking really bad. Anyway, Anderson and Gallows both hit clotheslines in stereo to Dash and Dawson, sending them to the outside. We come back from break. Dawson is in control of Carl. He tags in Dash, but Carl hits a huge drop kick. Gallows then tags in. He goes off on Dawson for a little bit with a series of clotheslines. Then he hits a big boot. He tags in Carl. They set up for the Magic Killer, but Dash distracts Dawson, hits the chop block onto Gallows' leg. Then the Hardys' music hits out of nowhere. This distracts the Revival. We get huge delete chants here. Gallows and Anderson call for the Hardys to enter the ring. The Revival, meanwhile, hit the Shatter Machine onto Gallows and Anderson out of nowhere, go for the pin, 1, 2, 3, Revival win, and this match ends with a huge brawl from the Hardys on the Revival. Again, guys, distraction finishes, whatever. This was an okay match, nothing really surprising or exciting. Honestly, the best part about it was that Anderson Gallows looked like they might be turning face. And again, that would be a welcome change to this bleak Raw tag team division. So, again, I'm not really sure what Booker T was talking about. I think this division needs a lot of work. But I do think that a face turn from these guys would be very welcome. It may actually help this division in the long run. So, we will see what happens as far as that goes. I'm not really sure if they are going to be full-on faces from now on, but it did look from that promo that they were. So, we will see. Anyway, we get a backstage segment with Miz and the Miztourage and Maurice. They talk about some shit in Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. They compare Hollywood rebooting movies to Seth Rollins trying to reboot The Shield. He then just goes on to say that they'll show that they're what's it in WWE. I thought this was a good promo for Miz, but I'm just not excited at all to see this match. It's just another variation on Dean and Miz, and I'm so sick of seeing those two guys in the ring. I can barely even say their names in the same sentence, let alone watch an entire match between those two guys again. So, anyway, we head into the main event, and Raw was actually getting pretty close to 10 o'clock at this point, so you could tell this match was going to be condensed and be very quick. So, Miz makes a quick tag to Axel, and Dean just starts beating the fuck out of Curtis Axel at this point. Curtis has zero offense here. Seth then tags in. He continues this massacre of Curtis Axel, hitting him with a scoop slam into a knee for a pin. They then show Cesaro and Sheamus watching this match from backstage as well, which I thought was very interesting. Maybe Miztourage can become a tag team. Maybe Dean and Seth will become a tag team. Either way, I thought this was very strange that they showed these two watching this match, and it does show a tiny hint of maybe what's to come for one of these guys. Anyway, Miz gets tagged in. He starts taking down Seth, hitting him with a barrage of knees to the back. Seth then hits a sling blade onto Miz. Then Dean and Seth have some really nice tag team offense together, showing that they can get along if they try. We come back from break, and Dean is just going off on Bo Dallas. He hits an elbow for a near fall until Miz breaks up the pin. Seth takes out the Miz, but Axel is there to drive Seth into the barricade. Miz then makes a surprise tag, comes from behind Dean Ambrose, hits the skull-crushing finale, 1, 2, then Seth comes in out of nowhere and breaks up the pin at the last second. There's a very scary moment here from Bo Dallas, though, where he collides face first into the middle rope, nearly taking his own head off. I'm not sure if this was just a good sell or if he actually nearly hurt himself, but it did look bad. Commentary even made a comment about it, saying, whoa, that looked like he almost decapitated himself. So, very scary stuff there. Dean then launches Miz over the top rope. Him and Seth look at each other, they bounce off the ropes and hit a pair of suicide dives in stereo onto Bo and Curtis. Miz then rolls up Dean out of nowhere. Dean kicks out. Seth then hits Miz with the knee as he tries to set up for the skull-crushing finale again. Dean then hits the Dirty Deeds. 1, 2, 3. Dean and Seth win. At the end of this match, Seth tries to go for that signature Shield fist bump from Dean, but Dean turns around and leaves him hanging, and we go off the air with Dean walking to the backstage area and Seth standing in the ring looking displeased. Overall, I thought this was a decent match. It did feel like they were rushed for time here, though. The final minutes, there was tons of crazy spots and sequences, so it kind of seemed like they were all just thrown together in the final seconds, trying to cram as much as possible into this final few minutes that they had on Raw. I will say that even though I wasn't too hyped for this match, I thought this was a decent end to Raw. These guys actually went out there and put on a compelling match. And the whole tease of the Shield reunion, though, like I said before, man, it's not really working for me. I still think that Seth and Dean should fight each other, and maybe that's what they're really teasing here. You know, obviously with that backstage segment earlier with Dean saying that, you know, he has to watch his back from Seth, and now Dean leaving him hanging in the middle of the ring. So maybe they are teasing this Seth versus Dean match. I'm not really sure yet. We will have to see. To be honest with you, though, I would love to see a Dean heel turn. I think that would be fucking fantastic, and it would really shoot some life into Ambrose as a character because, let's face it, guys, right now, Dean Ambrose has been treading his wheels for a very long time. He is very bland and very boring, and he needs something like a heel turn to really reinvigorate his character. Overall thoughts, guys, I thought this was an okay episode of Raw. I mean, it was pretty compelling throughout the entire episode. I love the number one contenders match between the women, even though Bayley getting the win kind of left me scratching my head. This show was definitely better than Battleground was last night. That is absolutely for certain. There were some really nice moments in this episode. Like I said, Bayley Sasha, that was pretty good. Finn and Elias also really had a good match to kick off tonight's action. Really surprising stuff out of Elias there. You know, this was easily his best match I've ever seen, and Balor getting extended time on this show is something that he absolutely needs. So, even though Bray kind of ended the match shittily, I still think it was a good match and a really good way to kick off Raw, and it really showcased both of these guys as being very good in the ring and just being good characters in general. So good stuff from them. Like I said earlier, I like the new direction for Carl and Luke. I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into this or what, but they did seem to be full-on faces tonight. So we will have to see how they book them going forward, but it would be a very nice change of pace for this very stale tag team division. Noia squashing Emma, completely horseshit. She deserves way better than that, and I can honestly see that this was WWE saying, hey, you're going to go talk shit on Twitter? Well, now you're going to go job to Nia Jax. Have fun. This seemed like more like a punishment rather than an opportunity, essentially. So hopefully she doesn't become a jobber for the rest of her life. We will have to wait and see on that as well. The opener to Raw, even though it was highly expected, I thought it was still badass. I thought Roman cut a really good promo, and I do think that we are going to see that title swap at SummerSlam. So will it go to Roman? Will it go to Braun, Joe? We're going to have to wait and see on that as well. Everything about Raw right now is kind of a wait-and-see situation, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just getting me excited for SummerSlam. Jason Jordan and Kurt Angle, they didn't really do anything of worth here tonight. I was kind of expecting more considering how big of an angle it was last week. I think they just added more fuel to the fire here. You know, they got Jason in a meaningless match where he absolutely killed Kurt Hawkins, and rightfully so. He does look like he's going to be a badass in his current role, but he still needs to work on his promo ability. But his in-ring ability is top-notch. It's good stuff to watch, and he comes off as a strong motherfucker, and you know Vince McMahon loves that shit. And finally, the main event, It did feel pretty rushed, but I think it was cool seeing Seth and Dean team up like that. They did have some really nice tag team offense together, which is something that we have not seen in a very long time. And it does look like they may be teasing a possible Dean versus Seth match, which is something that I would want personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people would much prefer to watch that over a Dean versus a Dean versus Miz match for the millionth time. So, overall, guys, man, I thought this was a pretty good episode of Raw. I thought it was pretty entertaining throughout all 3 hours. They spread out their good matches and their good segments to keep people entertained for all 3 hours rather than backloading it for the final hour, which they did last week, and I didn't really prefer. So, overall, man, I thought this was a decent episode, and it really kind of set up things for the future, even though we still have some questions left to be answered. But yeah, guys, that was our review of Raw. Appreciate you guys listening. As always, follow us on Twitter at Ramble_cast. Check us out on Podbean at RoyalRambleRadio.podbean.com and listen to us on the go. Definitely hit us up on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and leave us a comment below. That is where you're going to find the highest quality versions of our episodes, so check us out there for sure. And if you ever have any questions or want to have your comments read on the air, send them in to RoyalRambleRadio@gmail.com. Again, guys, I'm your host, Zach Stevens, and I am out. We'll see you tomorrow for our review of SmackDown Live. Peace.